Hi there, I'm Ben. I facilitate executive team workshops. So it's really important that I know how to start and how to end that time. So what I'm going to do is share some tips for you in your meetings to start them and end them really, really well. But first, why does it matter how you start or end? Ultimately, it's the content that matters, right? Well, people tend to remember the start and the end of things and any peaks or troughs that happen on the way. So for example, if someone in the middle of it drops their coffee, you remember that. But you also remember how it feels when you start and how it feels when you end. And that's what I'm going to have a look at, is how you can make those starts and ends really work so that the rest of the meeting is as effective as possible. So the three key themes I want you to think about when you're starting a meeting. So the most important thing when you start a meeting is everyone's expectations are aligned. Does everyone think they're coming into the same meeting that you have prepared? If those expectations are not aligned, you're going to have a big problem. Now, hey, just one of those moments when you realise that things aren't clear. This video is all about expectations, starting meetings, setting expectations. There'll be follow-up videos that will talk about connection and energy and endings. Cool, back on with the video. There's a lot you can do in sending out the agenda and pre-reading and all those types of things to try and make sure that people understand what it's about. If you can get a chance to talk to people before the meeting starts, just check that they think they're coming into what you know they're coming into. That can be really effective. But there are also some things you can do at the start of the meeting to make sure that those expectations are aligned and you're not in for any surprises when you get going. So an activity I like to use at the start of time together with a team is an activity called TRIZ. T-R-I-Z. TRIZ essentially asks everyone in the room to say what is the worst way we could possibly do this. So what I like to do in my workshops is say, what is the worst way that I could run this workshop? What that means is I found out straight away that nobody wants role play, or that everyone wants me to stick to time, or that they don't want to be mansplained to. And those things are really important. It can absolutely make sure that you don't go off track of their expectations. Equally though, how do you set your own expectations? Now for me, to set my expectations, I tend to write them on a flip chart piece of paper like that and get everyone to have a bit of a tacit agreement that's where we're going to go. So it might be, in my workshops, if we're not getting on the internet, then we're not going to have our phones and laptops out. I'm going to set an expectation that I'm not going to go over 90 minutes before I give everyone a break. And they can hold me to that too. It's written up there. So a couple of things there. TRIZ is a great activity for getting the expectations from the room, and write your expectations up, make them clear, put them on the wall, and make sure that everyone's seen those and is happy to agree to that. Another nice activity I like to use at the start to set expectations is using a set of sticky dots, like these ones. If you give everyone, let's say 10 sticky dots, and you have a scale on the wall as they walk in where you ask them to place a dot that represents them. So it might be a scale of how terrified to excited they are about the project that you're about to launch in the meeting. Or it might be successful or unsuccessful they think the last week has been on hitting their objectives. It gives you again an idea of where everybody's at. So you might come in with the expectation that things have gone well, and that gauges that actually you need to tweak what you're going to talk about because other people don't think it has, or vice versa. So think about a scale you can put on the wall where people can vote on where they're at that particular moment in time. Gives you a great visual reference and sets expectations straight away. Here's a really simple one that you can use for setting expectations at the start of a meeting, is using a visual timer. This one is a time timer, and what it allows you to do is show, I'm going to start off by giving you some information, but I'm only going to take 10 minutes. There you go. You set it to 10 minutes and everyone can see, as well as you, that there's a certain amount of time left, and when it gets to 10 you're going to stop. that helps set the expectation that things aren't going to constantly drift. And you can set that up at the beginning, and that timer is there for everybody to see and know that things aren't going to go in the wrong direction. Another activity you can use to set and get expectations right at the start of a meeting is something called 1, 2, 4, all. Very simple structure. You ask a simple question as people start the meeting. So, what has your success been this week? Might be the question. And you give people, first of all, one minute to think about their answer to that question. I find that really important, is to give people thinking time. If you've got a 1 minute piece of music you can put on as well, that's really useful. After 1 minute, you then ask everyone to pair up. So each person finds a pair and they share what their success has been for the week. You give them 2 minutes, so both pair gets to share, and then the pairs join up another pair in fours, summarise what they've all been talking about as their successes, and then finally each four can share back with the whole group. Now, why is that setting expectations? Well, it gives you a reflection. It's a great starting activity. Also, using 1, 2, 4 all is a great substitute for the version where if you've got a group of 20, you're not just asking every person to share one after the other. By the time it comes to the 18th and the 19th and the 20th person, the first person's bored, and the 18th, 19th and 20th have been worried about their go for the whole time. So by using 1, 2, 4 all, everybody's thought about it, everybody's had the chance to share in pairs or fours, but it doesn't mean that you've got a long drawn out process of hearing from every single person. Because sometimes people don't want to always talk all the time in meetings. So 1, 2, 4 all, great way to start. It's a great structure for any part of the meeting. Whenever you need everyone to feedback, use 1, 2, 4 all. Another way you could start your meetings is using an activity called 5 whys. Now for this one, maybe things haven't been going perfectly and you want to give people the opportunity to share the things that have been a challenge, the things that haven't gone well. Maybe you use the 1, 2, 4 all approach, but ultimately you ask the question, what's got in your way? What are the barriers been to moving forward this week, this month, this quarter? Everybody has a think about it, and then you pair people up. And what they have to do is they have to hear the challenge and they have to ask why 5 times. So it might be, I was planning to reach out to 5 customers this week, but I didn't manage to do it. First question, why didn't you manage to reach out to the 5 customers? Well, I had to go and deal with a problem in the sales team, and therefore that took up the time I was going to use to reach out to the customers. Why was there a problem in the sales team that you had to deal with? Well, one of my colleagues was out and I've got better expertise on that, so I had to go and address that problem. Why did that mean that you couldn't still reach out to 5 customers? Well, after dealing with the sales problem, I didn't have the contact details to hand. Why didn't you have the contact details to hand? Well, you know how the CRM has been a bit delayed in being updated. What you get from the 5 whys is you get down to the nub of the problem. So yes, they wanted to reach out to 5 customers, but ultimately there's a CRM update that hasn't been done. That might be how you find out that that's the priority you need to focus on, that wasn't the thing that people initially thought of.